girl who followed me. Plucked at me, plucked holly, but I plucked the flowers of the sea. Since for the tide comes and the tide goes, and the wind green on mountains tussock brown, and the rim of fire on the hills, and the river running down, and the smoke of the burning scrub, and I to uncle's tone, and the smell of earth new plough, and the antlers in the hall, since and Uncle Jim was off to the wars with a carbine up his saddle, and was killed in the transform. I forget in just what battle. And Uncle Simon left the farm after some wild quarrel, rolled his blanket and rode off whistling on his sorrel. My father held to the line, running good cattle there, and I grew up like a shaggy steer, and as swift as a hare, while the river ran down. But that was long ago, when the hawk hovered over the hill, and the deer lifted their heads, and a boy lay still by the river running down, sings Paddy. you're right there, Michael, are you right? Do you think you will be there before the night? Oh, you've been so long in starting that you couldn't say for certain. Still you might now, Michael, so you might. They find out where the engine's been hiding, and he drags you to sweet Copeland. Says the guard back and down on the siding, there's the goods from Kilrush coming in. Perhaps he comes in 2 hours, perhaps he breaks down on the way. If he does, says the guard with the powers, we're here for the rest of the day. And while you sit and curse your luck, the train backs down into her truck. Are you right there, Michael, are you right? Have we got the parcel there for Mrs. White? Oh, you haven't, oh, begorra, say it's coming down tomorrow. And it might now, Michael, so it might. At the beach the sea shines like a jewel. With joy you are ready to shout. When the stoker cries out, there's no fuel, and the fire is taken totally out. But another bit of a log there, I'll soon have the art of the fix. There's a fine clump of turf in the bog there, and the rest go a-gathering sticks. And while you're breaking bits of trees, you hear some wise remarks like these. Are you right there, Michael, are you right? Do you think that you can get the fire to light? What hour you'll require for the turf, it might be drier. Well, it might now, Michael, so it might. Kilkee, oh, you never get near it. You're in luck if the train brings you back, for the permanent way so quit spends most of the time off the track. Uphill your engine is climbing, while the passengers push with a wheel. You're safe when you reach Eddie's Diamond, for all the way home is downhill. And as you're wobbling through the dark, you hear the God make this remark. Are you right there, Michael, are you right? Do you think that you'll be home before it's light? 'Tis all depending whether the old engine holds together. And it might now, Michael, so it might. Guten Abend, gute Nacht, mit Rosen bedacht, mit Neblein besteckt, schlug unter die Deck. Morgen früh, wenn Gott will,
girl, growing up in Pembrokeshire, I learned pretty early on that Dylan Thomas's piece, A Child's Christmas in Wales, bears repeating. In fact, it longs to be repeated, which is why I am going to repeat parts of the piece that I did here 2 years ago. So, A Child's Christmas in Wales, the first 2 paragraphs, and then the bit that tells about Christmas Day. One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the sea town corner, now and out of all sound, except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases roll down toward the two-tongued sea, like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street. And they stop at the rim of the ice-edged, fish-freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that wool-white, bell-tongued ball of holidays resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out comes Christmas Day. For dinner we had turkey and blazing pudding, and after dinner the uncles sat in front of the fire, loosened all buttons, put their large moist hands over their watch chains, groaned a little and slept. Mothers, aunts and sisters scuttled to and fro, bearing tureens. Auntie Bessie, who had already been frightened twice by a clockwork mouse, whimpered at the sideboard and had some elderberry wine. The dog was sick. Auntie Dosey had to have 3 aspirins, but Auntie Hannah, who liked port, stood in the middle of the snow-bound backyard, singing like a big-bosomed thrush. I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up too, and when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled. In the rich and heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending, I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns and nibble dates and try to make a model man o' war, following the instructions for little engineers, and produce what might be mistaken for a sea-going tramcar. Or I would go out, my bright new boots squeaking, into the white world, onto the seaward hill, to call on Jim and Dan and Jack, and to pad through the still streets, leaving huge deep footprints on the hidden pavements. I bet people will think there have been hippos. What would you do if you saw a hippo coming down our street? I'd go like this, bang! I'd throw him over the railings and roll him down the hill, and then I'd tickle him into the ear and he'd wag his tail. What would you do if you saw 2 hippos? Iron-flapped and bellowing he-hippos clanked and battered through the scudding snow toward us as we passed Mr. Daniel's house. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let's write things in the snow. Let's write Mr. Daniel looks like a spaniel all over his lawn. Or we walked on the white shore. Can the fishes see it snowing? The silent one-clouded heavens drifted onto the sea. Now we were snow-blind travellers lost on the north hills, and vast, dew-lapped dogs with flasks round their necks ambled and shambled up to us, baying, Excelsior! We returned home through the poor streets, where only a few children fumbled with bare red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow and cat-called after us, their voices fading away as we trudged uphill into the cries of the dock birds and the hooting of ships out in the whirling bay. And then at tea, the recovered uncles would be jolly, and the iced cake loomed in the centre of the table like a marble grave. Auntie Hannah laced her tea with rum, because it was only once a year. Bring out the tall tales now that we told by the fire, as the gaslight bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long nights, when I dared not look over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubbyhole under the stairs where the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we went singing carols once, when there wasn't the shaving of a moon to light the flying streets. At the end of a long road was a drive that led to a large house, and we stumbled up the darkness of the drive that night, each one of us afraid, each one holding a stone in his hand in case, and all of us too brave to say a word. The wind through the trees made noises as of old and unpleasant, and maybe web-footed men wheezing in caves. We reached the black bulk of the house. What shall we give them? Hark the herald? No, Jack said. Good King Wenceslas, I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3, and we began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-felted darkness, round the house that was occupied by nobody we knew. We stood close together, near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And then a small, dry voice, like the voice of someone who has not spoken for a long time, joined us singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. A small, dry voice through the keyhole. And when we stopped running, we were outside our house. The front room was lovely. Balloons floated under the hot water bottle gulping gas. Everything was good again and shone over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Perhaps it was trolls, Dan said, who was always reading. Let's go in and see if there's any jelly left, Jack said, and we did that. Always on Christmas night there was music. An uncle played the fiddle, a cousin sang Cherry Ripe, and another uncle sang Drake's drum. It was very warm in the little house. Auntie Hannah, who had got on to the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest. And then everybody laughed again, and then I went to bed. Looking through my bedroom window, out into the moonlight and the unending smoke-coloured snow, I could see the lights in the windows of all the other houses on our hill, and hear the music rising from them up the long, steadily falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to the close and holy darkness, and then I slept.